guys! Welcome back to the Commercial Law School. It's been a long time since we last posted, so we wanted to wish you a happy new year. Today's video is going to be a continuation of our Assessment Centre series, and we are going to be talking about how to approach written exercises at the Assessment Centre stage. These are the most common written exercise styles that we've come across at assessment centres, so most of our advice will be based on these. So in this video we are going to give you our top 10 tips for succeeding with written exercises, and we hope you find them useful. So get your notebooks and your pencils and be prepared to make some notes. First and foremost, in order to do well with written exercises, you need to be very time conscious and have good time management. At the assessment centre, you might be given a written exercise where there are loads and loads of pages to read, so it's important to be time conscious so that you leave sufficient time to read the information, construct a plan, and write a logical and coherent answer. One thing I found really useful for keeping time was to keep a watch in front of me. This allowed me to be constantly aware of how much time I had left to complete the written task. Also, one thing I would do before my written exercises was to practice my timekeeping skills. I would ask my friend to give me a news story and some allotted time to write an analysis on the news story, and this really helped me to think on my feet and work on my timekeeping skills and also learn how to structure answers better. Our second piece of advice is that you should know your audience. This means that you need to be aware of who you are addressing your written exercise to. So from my experience, firms typically ask me to address my written exercise to a client or a member of the internal team. Whatever the task, you need to make sure that you understand your audience and you understand the way in which they would want information presented to them. So you need to understand that generally, clients don't want the legal jargon or long explanations. They want the answer plain and clear, so you should avoid using technical legal concepts and try to explain solutions in an easily digestible and concise manner. However, if you were addressing the rest of your internal team, you could use legal concepts and explain these in more detail, but you still need to ensure that your written exercise is concise. So when drafting your answer, make sure you know your audience. However, regardless of whoever the audience is, make sure that you're always writing in a formal tone just to stay on the safe side. Our third tip is to make sure that you plan your answer. This will help to ensure that you have a clear structure throughout, which is a really impressive thing for firms to see. This point is also linked to our tip about having good time management. If you have good time management, you'll have sufficient time to plan your answer, and by doing this, you're putting yourself in a strong position. Our fourth tip is kind of a follow-up from our previous tip, which is that it is important to always have a clear and coherent structure. Here are some of the things you could consider using. Our fifth tip is that you should be as analytical as possible. So if, for example, you have been given an acquisition case study where one company wants to acquire another company, think about the possible problems that could arise. This is a great way to show your analysis skills, because as a lawyer, clients will expect you to be able to anticipate any future problems that could arise, so being able to spot them at this early stage is very promising. However, it would be wrong of me to give you this piece of advice without giving you the tip that goes hand in hand with it, which is that for any problems you highlight, always find a solution. Not only do clients expect you to be able to flag up problems, but they also want to see that you'd be able to solve those problems should they arise. So make sure you're considering all of these things to show your assessor what a great lawyer you'd make. You could also analyse using comparisons of short and long term, and we have a video that will be linked below that can help with this. Our sixth piece of advice is in light of the current COVID situation, which is that you should ensure that you are in a quiet environment where there is a strong Wi-Fi connection. Imagine being halfway through your written exercise and then suddenly the Wi-Fi connection cuts off or your dog starts coming to play with you. That would be really frustrating. So to avoid this from happening, make sure that you've set your laptop up in advance, that you have a strong Wi-Fi connection, and that you're in a quiet place. Our seventh piece of advice is that you should consider the wider context and make links where applicable. The key word being where applicable. There are a few times where I tried to link a news story or a firm deal where it didn't fit, just to show that I'd done some outside research. However, it is important to note that you should only make links to news stories or firm deals where it is directly relevant. Where it is relevant, you should definitely make use of it. So for example, if you've been given an acquisition case study and there were concerns about the creation of a monopoly, perhaps you could link it to a news story that you read that had the same concerns. Or alternatively, if the law firm has advised on a similar competition case, then perhaps you could bring this in. The key thing is about being able to discern when and where it is appropriate to bring in outside knowledge. Our 8th piece of advice is that you need to be able to pick out the key and relevant information. Some firms will give you a large document with lots of information, but you need to remember to stay focused and pick out the key and relevant information from the text. One thing that may be helpful is reading the question beforehand. This will help you to stay focused because you know what information is relevant to the question. We would also recommend that you write the question on a separate piece of paper so that you don't have to keep switching pages. You should also highlight any key or relevant information that you find whilst reading. Our 9th tip is that you should always proofread your work before you submit it. You should always proofread your work to ensure that you've not made any spelling or grammatical errors and that you're submitting the best possible quality of work that you're capable of. Our final tip is that where possible, you should bring up additional points when presenting your findings to the assessor. This tip is only applicable to the firms that allow you to give a presentation after you've completed your written exercise. So those are our top 10 tips for acing the written exercise at assessment centres. We hope that you found this video useful, and if you have, please like, share, comment and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.